All right, let's get to the Miami side of this. So they fall 27-21, so close. Everyone wants to know, is the U back? It's the question that gets asked so often. I like Mario Cristobal's response, which, paraphrasing, he essentially says it's not really about if the U is back or not in terms of his goals as a coach. And we got to give Mario Cristobal a ton of credit. It was bad to start his Miami tenure. I got the stats here, got the season-by-season records. First year, 5-7, no bowl game in 2022. Second year at Miami, 7-6 with a loss in the Pinstripe Bowl. Third year, 10-3, Cam Ward. Couple of narrow wins, but they got him. But they lost in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I believe that was to Iowa State. So you're going year one, not even good enough for a bowl game. Year two, lost in the Pinstripe Bowl. Year three, lost in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Not exactly is the U back material. But this year, lose twice in the regular season. The Louisville game was wild. Jeff Brom, great coach. Miller Moss, former USC QB, he got hot. Chris Bell, probably the most underrated receiver in college football. Tremendous player. Absolutely torched Miami in that game. They got out to a big lead, and they hold on to win 24-21. That was a Friday night game in Miami. The other Miami loss, Louisville was straight up better in that game. The other Miami loss was kind of crazy. It was at SMU. They won the game, but then committed a personal foul penalty after getting that final stop on that fourth down, roughing the passer. And then SMU kicks like a 50-yarder as the time expires to end regulation to tie it, and then they lose in overtime. Like, it was kind of a classic Cristobal head-scratching loss. Like, he's had a bunch of those in his career. You know, a couple of famous ones at Miami where he didn't knee the ball. Famous one at Oregon for Stanford where he didn't knee the ball. He's had some serious head-scratchers, but that was kind of a head-scratcher. So they were technically not good enough to even make the ACC title game. They didn't play in the ACC title game. If you ask me, Jim Delaney, I think, is the ACC commish. Brother, you gotta redo your ACC tiebreakers. Because Duke bouncing Virginia in the ACC title game was a tough look. Let me make sure it's Jim Delaney. Oh wait, former commissioner of the Big Ten. Who is the ACC commissioner? Phillips? My bad on that. Jim Phillips. Yeah. I can see the guy's face. Okay, Jim Phillips. So, you know, the first three seasons did not scream Miami was back at all. It was bad. That being said, this year, despite losing multiple times in the regular season, Mario Cristobal deserves credit, serious credit, for reinstalling seriousness, edge, swagger, physicality. They still don't have a ton of discipline. They're consistently one of the most penalized teams in the sport. Many Cristobal teams have been. But they have the swagger and the physicality that it takes to be an upper echelon team in college football. And then Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor, man, those guys are arguably generational type talents. Like, I haven't seen many edge rushers like that in college football in the last 5-10 years. I mean, they are sensational players, especially Bain, but all them, Mesidor and Big 99, all that, their whole team really on the D-line. So their D-line and their physicality will keep them in every game. You know, the U can't technically be back until they win a national title. But I don't even look at it like that. I think that's almost kind of an unfair way to evaluate their season and their program. Like, in this day and age, we all know what it is with the NIL and the transfer portal, and Miami was paying players before most were, just like USC in the early 2000s was, like the SEC notably was. Like, you're never going to – and Miami's paying a ton of money to a ton of players now. Like, the reported offer to Ty Simpson was $6.5 million to go play 1 year of college football there. People think Beck got 4 to 6. Like, they are going to hand out as much cash as anyone in the sport. So they will be moving forward, as long as those NIL checks keep cashing, and it seems like they will be up there consistently talent-wise with anyone, talent-wise. And, I think they caught a little fire this year in the postseason. I mean, they beat A&M 10-3 in a game that had no offensive touchdowns or no touchdowns, period, until, I think less than 2 minutes left or around 2 minutes left. Really, really, really ugly game in College Station. And then they played really well against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Had the pick six and just played really sound football. Beck played well, and then Beck played probably the best game of his career, or one of them, in the semifinal against Ole Miss, leads them down for the game-winning touchdown after Trinidad, a.k.a. Trinidaddy, takes the 27-24 lead. Beck leads them down to win it 31-27. He puts together a masterful drive and then runs the ball in with a minute left. In one of the best games for the U in 25 years. So it's really cool. I'll just say this too. It's really cool to have the U relevant. Seeing DJ Khaled and, the Michael Irvin thing's obviously getting a little old, but you just kind of laugh at it, keep it moving. All the celebs on the sideline. It's cool to see Cuban for Indiana on the sideline last night. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, just everyone, that swagger in college football, Cristobal likes to say when the U's rolling, there's nothing like it. It's kind of true. From a pure swagger standpoint, there's really nothing like the swag of the U. It calls back, nostalgia, a hell of a drug, but one of the more stacked teams in CFB history, the early 2000s Miami team. I was watching again that replay where I think it was Chris Gamble drew the PI. That was the worst PI call I've ever seen, the one where they got screwed on in the title game in 2001, I want to say. That was absurd. I feel for the U in that one. But, it's cool to have the U back. That's my final kind of say. Are they all the way back with a full return to glory? No, not until they win the title. But I also don't really look at it like that. I just look at it as it's cool to have the U relevant in the sport of college football. Dude, if we're just going to keep handing kids $6 million to play QB and however much to play running back and receiver and line, they can hand out checks and bags with the best of them, so they'll be here. Looking into next year, who knows? It seems like Darian Mensah. It seems like they bought him out of his NIL deal, which is a crazy story. He had another year. He signed a 2-year deal with Duke, and they bought him out reportedly of his second year, and then will pay him money on top of that. So it seems like they spent $10 million on Darian Mensah next year to be their QB. They have Mark Fletcher back. Obviously, they have Malachi Toney back. He was a true freshman this year. Could have been in high school, reclassified. So they'll be good. Their O-line and D-lines will be great. Obviously, they'll lose their stars on the D-line, but they kind of caught fire at the end of the season. But at the same time, it's tough to say they don't deserve to be where they are. I mean, a dominant D-line. And by the way, Indiana's D-line was arguably the best D-line in the country this year in terms of stopping the run. So it's no coincidence that the best D-lines are usually on the national title teams, and it's tough to say that the U didn't deserve to make the title game. I mean, I know that it wasn't pretty at times this year. Certainly wasn't pretty in the A&M game. They lost a couple times in the regular season, but by season's end, they went through Ohio State, beat them by double digits. They won on the road at A&M, who was one of the toasts of the regular season of college football. I think they were a little fraudy. Lost to Texas by double digits. That was the only real team they played in the SEC. So they're a little fraudy, but they're a good team. And then Ole Miss was hot as hell with Trinidad, in my opinion, the best QB in college football, along with Mendoza. They beat them. So, and they beat the hell out of Mendoza tonight. They beat him up. I mean, absolutely tattooed him. Beat him up, dude. The toughness on display for Mendoza was just remarkable. And Miami's a hard-hitting team. They're a physical team, and you can tell that Cristobal has stamped his identity on this team. And I think you got to give Cristobal a ton of credit for doing that. So I tip my hat to Cristobal. I tip my hat to the U. They are a force to be reckoned with. Are they all the way back? I don't think they would even tell you they're all the way back until they win a title, but they're here, they're relevant, which is so awesome for college football. And that'll bring me to my next topic, which is college football is absolutely thriving right now.